Welcome back to Hannity. It's time for Media Mash, our weekly roundup of all the ways that mainstream media tries to put its liberal spin on the news. Back with us to go through this week's material is none other than the president of the Media Research Center, Mr. Brent Bozell. Brent, thanks for joining us. Let's jump right in. We have a lot to get to. Let's listen to the first soundbite. Go ahead, guys. Roll it.
Let's get down to it. You know, Mike Bloomberg, mayor of New York City. I mean, there's a level of anti-Semitism in this thing directed toward Bloomberg.
No doubt about it.
I mean, it's out there.
I don't think it's anti-Semitism. I think it's the perception of big city urban elites, wealthy, elites telling the rest of the little people how to live their lives.
But if he was not a big city Jewish man, was
I don't think it's
from another ethnic group in some parts, I think it would be different.
So, Brent, Mike Barnicle and Al Sharpton say if you disagree with Mayor Bloomberg, you're an anti-Semite. Dog whistle much?
Yeah, Eric, we need to have a discussion on this because this is the ugly, intolerant face of the radical left that's taken over liberalism today. A few years ago, I was on a panel where we were talking. At one point, it was a media panel, and Pat Buchanan's name came up. A reporter for the New York Times said he's an anti-Semite. Tom Oliphant, liberal journalist from the Boston Globe, stood up to defend Pat Buchanan, a friend and a colleague. He said something interesting. He said, the only thing worse than the charge of anti-Semitism is the false charge of anti-Semitism. And you saw it right there. If you disagree with Mayor Bloomberg on anything, you're an anti-Semite. If you disagree with Barack Obama, you're a racist. That in itself, Eric, is a form of bigotry. That in itself is a form of racism. So I'm going to accuse these people of being bigots, and I'm going to accuse them of being racist.
Brent, if you disagree with the Bloomberg, you're anti-Semite, as you point out. If it's Obama, you're racist. If it's Pelosi, you're misogynist. Can I disagree with the left on any way? Who can I disagree with?
Well, they're not going to let you. That's the point. You can't have an honorable conversation with these radicals. I pine for the days of George McGovern, Eric. I pine for the days of Joe Lieberman, where are you when I need you? Because you could have a serious conversation, serious disagreements, but you weren't attacked personally for them. This is the radical left that goes for character assassination anytime it's faced with a debate.
All right, Brent, I have two more to get to at least. I want to get to these, so let's go. Let's roll the next soundbite. Go ahead, guys.
He's the mayor of America's largest city and has the ear of the president on important issues like immigration and gun control. Plus, Mayor Michael Bloomberg has something many other big city mayors don't, a personal fortune he is willing to spend. Today, pouring $12 million into two commercials supporting background checks for all gun purchases. They will air in 13 key states from Arizona to Pennsylvania, where Bloomberg believes senators are on the fence.
Will you target people, Republicans and Democrats, who do not support a weapons ban, an assault weapons ban, who do not vote for background checks? Will you spend money, lots of money, to target them in 2014 in the midterm race?
No, Brent, there it is. There's mainstream media. There's David Gregory flip-flopping on big spending for a cause.
Amazing, isn't it, Eric? If his name was David Koch, they would have a different attitude. They have spent hundreds of hours vilifying the Koch brothers at every opportunity. Dick Scaife, the godfather of the vast right-wing conspiracy. If it's a conservative with money, Shelby Edelson, they come after you. But with Bloomberg, because he's now adopted their top issue, which is gun control now, he's a hero. By the way, one point to make. Between January and now, we added it up on ABC, NBC, CBS. He's either been a part of or interviewed in 43 network news stories. He doesn't need to spend a penny. They are giving him millions.
All right, Brent, let's take a listen. Roll the third one, please.
I was really embarrassed by my country, how a president of such limited ability, limited rhetorical ability, mental ability, historic ability, could talk us into a war that was just totally against our history. The Nuremberg trials were primarily, before the Holocaust, all those other issues, was against people who launched an aggressive war. And this was an aggressive war. And I had never heard of the United States making a case like that before.
Brent, I'm embarrassed for Chris Matthews for comparing President Bush to the Nazis. Is he out of his mind?
See what I mean? Eric, this is making my point. They will not have a reasonable conversation. You can disagree with the president's position in Iraq. I did. Ultimately, I did disagree with it. I don't agree with nation building that the neocons believe in. I don't equate them to Adolf Hitler, for God's sakes. That's exactly what this man did. And by the way, to the chairman of the board of Comcast Corporation, when in the world are you going to take stock in the people you've hired who are racists and bigots?
Well, what should they do, Brent? Should they should they let Chris Matthews go for that comment?
I think he needs to do some explaining to the people that hired him. Is this the voice of NBC? Is this the face of NBC? A man who equates the President of the United States to a Nazi because he disagrees with him.
But most importantly, he said, his words, I'm embarrassed of the United States. I'm embarrassed. Chris, if you're embarrassed, there are a couple of countries I'm sure that would have you.
Norway, as far away as possible.
All right. We had a couple more we're going to get to, I guess, at another time. Of the three, Barnacle and Sharpton calling us anti-Semite if we disagree with Bloomberg, or the Nets flip-flopping, or the last one. Which one's the most outrageous? We have about 15 seconds.
Alan Sharpton making comments about anti-Semitism, that pretty much takes the cake.
All right. We'll leave it there. Brent Balzell, thanks so much for joining us.